so Tegiwa cam test. A little bit about the base car first. Mike's EK Civic, stock K20 A2, SKUNK2 Ultra intake manifold, Tegiwa throttle body, velocity stack intake kit, and Tegiwa's new K-Swap header. 3-inch exhaust system as well. So stock cams for now for the first test, and then in a random order there'll be 3 sets of drop-ins. I won't know the order of which, but you know they'll be in there. Drag CARTEL, SKUNK2, and the drop-ins. Yeah, so I'd be interested to see which does which. Personally, I think peak power you're looking much the same between all 3. Within 2 or 3 I'd say, but we'll see. I am actually expecting the SKUNK2s to win overall on the lower end actually, from like 3 to 5, but we'll see, I could be wrong. Yeah, on to the test I suppose.
And then what's planned for the afternoon with the ECUs?
Afternoon, yes, we have the Haltech Platinum Pro plug-in. We'll play with that and we'll test usability, results on the dyno obviously. Yeah, basically just go through it and make a comparison towards the K-Pro I suppose, and give people some more options. Right, so first results are in. Stock cam, I believe.
I think that's like one of the
yeah, so it's a baseline. VTEC's in at 4. Peak torque we have 155 pound-foot. Peak horsepower we're sitting right at the red limit there. 240.47 at 8600. So we could have read this a bit harder on the stock cam. But once we get to the drop-in cams, I don't think it's very healthy to be revving these to much over 86, so I thought I'd leave it there. Yeah, kind of what you expect from here. Car as well, everything's fine. And yeah, on to the next one.
So we brought the car outside now for it to cool down after its last dyno run. We need to let the car cool down to an ambient temperature so that we can fit the next cams. We've got the DC5 JDM cams going in now. One of the common misconceptions when fitting drop-in cams is that it's quite a big job and that you're going to have big labour costs when swapping them over, but we reckon that no more than an hour really it should take to any competent mechanic. We've got Jim from Motion Motorsport at the minute. He's down here swapping them over. He reckons if you're in a nice warm garage and not in the freezing cold like he is, then he's confident he can do this in about half an hour. We're going to show some footage now of Jim fitting them, and we're going to time him to see how long it takes him. So Jim's just finished putting the DC5 JDM cams in. They're available on our website for £619.99. These come as standard in the K20A engines from JDM cars such as the DC5 and FD2. So let's see how we get on with them.
Okay, so it was 240 versus 243.
So the 240, that was the OEM one?
That's it, and 244 essentially was the DC5 cam.
Yeah. Is that something that you was expecting?
I was expecting them to be pretty much identical, to be honest. So there's a slight difference there. There is a difference of 4 horsepower in drag, but like I said, it's something we can't really avoid. gearbox oil temperature, tyre temperature. It's just, yeah, mechanics, it is what it is. Apparently made more torque across the band. So.
Well, that's kind of the end of the OEM cams, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're now into the
aftermarket tuner.
Yeah, the more expensive stuff
you'd
now.
expect more.
Yeah.
How much more do you think you're expecting from the
5,
others?
6 maybe. It won't be a lot more. So we correct for environmental conditions, so like temperature, humidity, pressure. We do that because if you was to come back in, say, the middle of the summer, it's going to run a different power if you didn't correct it. So the idea of the correction, at least, is to correct that back. So if you come with different parts, we can tell that it's the parts that are making the difference, not just because it's cold day. In theory, it works. So.
Okay.
And what is like kind of the best environment?
As cold as possible and as much pressure as possible.
Okay.
Day is warm, cold day.
Yeah, but because we're using the correction, it will standardise again.
So to be fair, EP3 and DC5 cams pretty similar.
They're pretty similar, yeah. It looks like you've got like 2 or 3 horsepower more and like a handful of pound-foot more.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair enough.
Was this all at 8,500?
That's all at 86, yeah. So they'll all be at 86.
Yeah.
VTEC was at 4 as well, so it was the same for both of them.
Cool.
Do you think the VTEC would change on the other cams?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
What, drastically more?
The SKUNK2 specifically, yeah. Generally, it's much higher, 5, maybe even higher than that. But the low cam generally makes a bit more grunt there. So, we'll be able to have a look and you'll see. So.
Cool.
Hiya, I'm Paul from TPW Engineering. Used to be of TDI North, used to own and do TDI North and all the mapping, everything else, still do all the mapping now. Down here to just meet the boys and see what's going on today. And to be honest, this is something really, really good that's been needing doing for years and years. So many people ask what cam's best, so we've got the opportunity here to test I think 3 or 4 of the different types of popular cam makes, are all drop-in cams, see what they do. It's not ideal, unfortunately, where some cams tend to be designed for different intakes, manifolds, that type of thing, but you've got to work with what you've got and no one's done this before. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We've got a really big exhaust manifold, we've got a big intake manifold, so I'm probably not going to see the gains that you normally see with the JDMs and the TDI cams in the mid-range. Expect to see them all pretty much to match at top end. So, and I know for a fact like the drag cartels and the SKUNK2s make really, really good top end, so they're probably ideal and work well on this. It'd be nice to see it with something like an EP3 with a toner manifold or a Tegiwa manifold on that, and then you'll see the benefits of the mid-range that the TDI cams and the JDMs give over the skunks and things, but it is what it is, and it's nice to have been asked down to have a look at this, catch up with everybody, and very interested to see what the results will be.
DC drop-ins, I believe. VTEC's moved to 4.5. Holds torque pretty flat, to be fair to it. Not too bad. Still really climbing hard at the rev limiter. It's a shame we've got to cut it in, but you kind of got to cut it in. Yeah, 249 on 58.6 pound-foot. She's a ripper.
On to the next one then.
Yeah, on to the next one.
Morning. So yesterday we tested the DC5 JDM cams and the drag cartel cams. Last night Jim from Motion fitted the TDI North Ultimate cams. The car's currently on the dyno behind us. Doing a few power runs now, see what we get out of them. and then we've just got the SKUNK2 cams to drop in, see what they make, and then we're on to our ECU test where we'll see how the Haltech Platinum Pro plug-in stands up to the Hondata K-Pro.
VTEC's a little higher this time, 48. Again, still going at the high RPM. I think the setup just wants more RPM, but unfortunately I can't give it. Yeah, I guess we'll see what it does back to back with the DC and the SKUNK2s once we've done them all, I suppose. But yeah, certainly not a fan of the early VTEC, these ones. No, maybe it's the exhaust setup, I don't know. But yeah, a little bit higher on these, so yeah, 248.2. And on to the next one. So yeah, what we've got there is SKUNK2 versus the TDIs. So yeah, more low cam.
Yeah.
Less in the middle, to be fair, from 55 to 73-ish. There's more on the TDI, so you could argue TDI's got more sort of mid-range. Top end SKUNK2s nick it by like 2. But yeah, the main gains are at the bottom there, aren't they? If you're looking at, for SKUNK2 anyway, TDI's gains in the middle. Let's have a look at cursor, might be able to get some exact numbers on it. Yeah, literally like 1.7 horsepower in it at the top. Just trying to look for the biggest difference in the middle. Looks to be there. That might be across a bit. Best mid-range, the TDIs are up by 4, so they're 4 horsepower better in the mid-range, the sort of 6,000-ish, and then we'll go somewhere random at the bottom here, 45-ish. The SKUNK2s are 5, nearly 6 horsepower better on the low cam. So SKUNK2s 5 or 6 horsepower better on the low, TDIs 4 or 5 horsepower better in the middle, SKUNK2s 1.5 if you like, better at the top. Cool. Swings and roundabouts, I suppose. Pick your poison, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drag value is the exact same. We tried really hard to get that, so yeah, it's good. This here is just where I was on the throttle a little bit earlier, so ignore this bit. Anything from sort of here this way is a valid reading. Anything that way just isn't. So yeah, not bad at all. So if we were looking at peak number, what's our order? Is in order of test, is it? No, yeah. It isn't. No, it isn't. If you're looking at peak number, obviously there's more to it. But
so we've got K20 EP3,
yeah.
The stock cams. They came out at 240. Then we've got the DC5 JDM cams. They came out at 243. The third cams that we did were the drag cartels. They came out at 249, followed by the TDI North. They were 248, and the SKUNK2, which were our final cams, they came out at 249.9.
It's starting to get a bit messy when you start adding loads of graphings on top. It starts to get a bit messy.
The crossovers all went up in like a nice order.
Yeah, the crossovers went up. The drag cartels are good for an early crossover, to be fair.
Yeah.
But what you end up seeing, so it's getting even harder to see, but so it looks like with the earlier crossover, the drag cartels can make it work. So, right. Yeah, so the drag cartels are probably the best cam at 5, between 5 and 5.5, say. They make, let me have a look. yeah, a good 8 horsepower more than the TDIs at 5. Well, 5.4. The TDIs catch up with the CARTELs at 6 or 58. Then it's the TDIs bit. I tell you what, we could just do it all in order, couldn't we? So we could go 4K, you've got the SKUNK2s are the best. They hold the best until about 5-ish, 49, where the Drake CARTELs overtake them. CARTELs hold the best until we get to about 58, 6, then it's the TDIs. The TDIs hold that advantage pretty much until 74, in which case they're all pretty much identical until you get to about 8. Then they start to split, and then the max difference between them was literally 3 horsepower, so yeah, it's very close. I guess it depends on where you like the power, I guess. Drake CARTEL's being able to get the tech in earlier has worked well for them, between sort of 5 and 6, but the TDIs are stronger between 6 and, let's just say 7.5, but the SKUNK2s win either end of the graph, so, you know, it's literally just
The middle.
yeah. So yeah, it's not an interesting test nonetheless. Yeah, it did work out how I was expecting with the SKUNK2s as well, with the hefty low cam. Yeah. And that's that, I suppose. On to the ECU, isn't it? Colour-coded booklet.
Colour-coded booklet. That's the selling point of Haltech.
Colour-coded booklets a win. Yeah. It says plug and play. Obviously, Mike plugged it in and he played, and it started. So, yeah, suits that criteria. It's a new ECU, not like a 20-year-old one. You can always sell your old ECU to Tegiwa for like, what's the going rate today? 60 quid plus postage? 60, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Shoots fat flamies. Yeah, does anything you need it to do for its price point, to be honest. Like, it's essentially a Hondata rival, but a new ECU rather than an old one.
And does flames.
And shoots flames, yeah. That was the Big Licks flames comment earlier. Yeah, skip to footage of flames. But yeah, it's hard to say much about it, really, isn't it?
And what about the cam test?
Yeah, cam test was interesting. As we thought, they were all pretty much the same for the top end, and it's almost pick the cam for what you want the engine to do, but at the same time you can pick your parts for what you want the engine to do as well, so it's still a giant puzzle, but I suppose we're a little bit more wise now as to what each cam does for each person's situation they're using the car for. Yeah, fun and games still, and yeah. I'm sure we'll think of something else to test soon enough.
Tyre test.
Tyre test.
Tyre test. Turbos, nitrous.
Yeah.
Turbo, supercharger versus nitrous.
So that concludes our cam test and ECU test. Big shout out to Jesse from JCal. If you got your Honda tune in, go hit him up. Shout out to Paul West from TPW Engineering for coming down. We'll be putting a more in-depth review, a bit more of a deeper look into the breakdown of our results in our blog. So head over there, you can find that. And we'll be looking to do a tyre test in the near future once we can get back out on track and lockdowns lifted and those kind of things. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more content.